I'm here and I'm getting going. See if we can make this happen. All right, live code on, commit changes. We're all here, we can do this. And I am live. Hello, happy Tuesday. What's up, I'm Mike. I am technical director technical for Gymnasium.com. We are a free online code school. We offer courses for designers and developers on great stuff about building for the web and mobile devices. Our courses are free, they're self-paced, it's always available for you. You should jump online and try out one of our courses. Today I'm going to work on something I haven't actually touched in a while. This has been a lingering bit of work that I've been meaning to do and just haven't gotten around to it, and so some changes are happening, so I'm going to make it happen. So this is actually going to be kind of a bit of work that I'm going to do in two different places on sort of the old version of the product and the new version of the product that is yet to be released, with the goal of keeping them in sync. So let's talk about what that means. Oh no, something failed. Oh, I see, that's an easy one. I was updating dependencies before I got going on this. This should be 660, looks like, with a little caret. So I'm going to update our job module, which is something I've worked on the stream. I can't remember the last time I did it. Live on the stream, at least. We worked on it in various forms, old and new, I should say. Make sure I'm doing the right microphone test. Yeah, it looks like it's working. Okay. Yeah, we're going to update this job module to change the way that this drop-down works. So right now there are heaps of locations listed in here, and they're not really in a logical order. The way it's presented right now, right? Like, no one really puts Amsterdam and Atlanta next to each other mentally when they're thinking about jobs. They are certainly alphabetically neighbors, but what we're going to do is we're going to cluster this into North American locations, European locations, and Asia Pacific locations. I think is probably going to be the way to do it in sort of alphabetical order. We'll see, there might take some shuffling around. A lot of this sort of UI improvement usually takes a few swipes, and some of it can be sort of intuited once the design is visible and tangible. So we're going to do that. So first of all, I'm going to work on the old version of this, which will actually probably be a little tougher to update than the new version. We learned a few things in building the new version and used a shiny implementation for it that is quite nice to work with, but we're just firing it up right now. Hopefully this works. I haven't actually, yeah, okay, good. I haven't fired this up in a while. So this is what the job module looks like. We're really just focused on this, so I'm not going to really focus on what's going on below. And we can look at what that looks like in this version, and then we'll go look at it in the new one. So we have a component for the dropdown in here somewhere called the market, the market dropdown. Plug this into here. And what this does is it creates, yeah, we'll allow that. Zoom in for you. What this component does is relatively simple. Let me center myself here. This creates and renders a label which says choose a location, which we saw on the tab here. Select a location. Let's say select or choose. Oh, that's the ARIA label. I see. This is for screen readers only. Right, so we have the select a location option, which is sort of the default one that's displayed because it's at the top, and then we have this map of markets. And right now we're doing sort by markets, and just sorting them by name, which is, you know what, not a horrible way to do it, but we owe it to ourselves to try for something a little bit better. So here's how we're going to do that. We're going to look at where that markets object is assembled, which is in constants. Let's pull it up. And then in here we will see that there's quite a few markets. We have the remote market, we have all of these different markets, and I'm going to, what's the best way to do this? So I think what I'm going to end up doing is exporting lists of, my cats are fighting me. Get out of here. Alright, I'm going to end up exporting something like North American, maybe American markets. We'll do Europe markets and APAC markets. Let's try that. And so I'm going to say const. We'll start with that. So right now this is still a perfectly functional file. The changes we did effectively just add a few empty objects in there. But we're going to figure out a nice way to do this. So I think what I'm going to do is create these guys up here. And we're going to separate all these out. So I'm going to go through this list of markets. And basically, in the end, this is going to be North American markets, European markets. We're using the spread operator to grab everything within that object. So as I remove things from here, this will start to make more sense. So we're just going to categorize these. Atlanta is in North America, as is Austin. I guess we can just go down a few at a time. Austin, Boise, Boston, Charlotte, all these ones. Oh, they're actually already in that order. That's super handy. So I'm just going to confirm. Durham, Rhode Island, Richmond, San Diego, San Francisco, Seattle, Silicon Valley, St. Louis, Tampa, Washington, D.C., Wisconsin, Toronto, Vancouver. All of these guys are my North American markets. That's great, actually, pretty convenient. I forgot that we're sorting this after the fact. So now I've got all of my North American markets lined up here. That's nice. I suppose Europe is next. For us right now, that looks like this. There will be maybe potential changes in this list, but I don't recall any. And then all that's left is APAC. And so now we're going to do something a little bit different than we had before to display these. So I'm exporting all of the markets as a single object still because there are places where we'll use all of the markets together, certainly. But in this dropdown, we're going to change the logic here for how we do this. So how best to do that? And we'll probably put in some separators for the various buckets that I just delineated there. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So that way, let me show you. I'm going to pull this off to the side. Oh, failed to compile. Oh no. Default market is not exported from constants. What have I done? Default market. Huh? No, that should be okay. Default. Well, I don't understand that error. This says default market is not exported from constants. Oops. But if I shrink this down and I look for default market, it's there and it's exported. Tell me more about that. Sure looks like it is. Here, let's let's recompile this. We're looking at that. Yeah, module.exports. It looks like it's there to me. Let's do a recompile. You never know. Okay, once again, util.js is saying that this guy doesn't exist. We have it here. Okay, well, in times like this, one of the things that's probably useful to look at is what I've actually changed in here. So we have our North American markets. Oof, bug flying around me. And if I scroll down far enough, we'll see we have our European markets, Asia Pacific, near as I can tell, nothing I've done should have affected the way this was defined, right? Where was this defined? Come on. Well, let's see what autocomplete gets me here. This seems to show not a lot, only 3 things in there. What? Oh, is that because? Okay, it's because I had already imported some. Okay, all right. So let's ask the question: why is everything but this showing up? What if I did that? Could I import DD? Yeah, okay. So it finds that. Is this a reference thing? No. Did I misspell it somewhere? Doesn't look like it. Although the more I stare at the word, the worse it looks to me. That's really funny. Okay. Well, look, what are you gonna do? That's very bizarre. Do it like this. Let's try setting it this way. No. What is happening? This is very weird. Attempted import error. Default market is not exported from constants. Okay, well, what if I did something so silly like this? Default market 2. And then here, oh, that's bad. Did that. Say what? Is it possibly that I don't have access to destructuring? Is it this? Let's see. Let's see what happens if I do this, just for giggles. Uh-huh. Something in here doesn't like the destructuring going on. So let's look at which node engine this is requiring. What version of node am I on? 12.18.0. So we do an LTS. No, that's fine. We're on 12 and whatever. I mean, this would have complained anyway. Okay, so let's just assume that I can't use destructuring for a reason I'm actually not sure about. But we cannot destructure in this constants.js because that makes the export logic unhappy. So we do have Lodash in this project. Yeah, I'll leave myself a note there. We're going to do import. Actually don't know which method we want. Union? Merge? Yeah, we'll use merge. Okay. So, here's where it's going to get weird. We're going to say merge, and then we'll merge this object with just the remote market in it. We'll merge those remaining objects or bits that we wanted to include, and that should do it. But it doesn't. Remember when I said this was going to be harder than when I said this was going to be harder than the new version? I don't think I knew I was in for this. Okay, well let's try a functional programming approach, which we can certainly do. Okay, let's do const markets equals. Oh, I need that remote market bit. Okay. We're going to do how do I do this? We're going to make an array of objects. Okay. This is wild. I don't understand why I'm doing this. And then we'll do market dot for each market list What the hell am I doing? This is such a crazy thing to have to do. Yeah, I don't really get why we're unhappy here. Like, clearly this is being caused by the same thing that was being caused before. This is really interesting. I've never bumped into this before. So that's something like a node export not supporting node export support for destructure. And that's module. Stackabuse.com. Cool. No, I don't think that's quite what I want. Okay, let's try this. Can I do this? Not worry about the merge. Just go with my destructure plan again, because clearly that merge is introducing the same kind of deal. Get rid of merge here. Do like that. Do like that. And then we'll get rid of this. Great, okay, that's better. My goodness, we're back in business. After a 20-minute detour into an error that I don't quite know how to describe, we are actually back to exactly what we had, but that's okay. Because now we can start messing with this in here. So what did I just do? Let me describe that quickly, just so that hopefully we're all on the same page. So in this constants.js, I split it into a bunch of things that are exported separately now. So on separate lines, I'm exporting the remote market, my North American markets, my European markets, Asia Pacific markets, and then an object that represents all of the markets as well as a default. I got rid of this module.export syntax because apparently that doesn't support anything being destructured within it, which is good to know. I mean, module.exports is of an older origin within Node. I don't think I've ever really run into this before, but you know, you work your way through these things as they come. So now my goal is to get rid of this map sort by business. Actually, I think I won't need this at all in the end. And in our select, we're going to do, so we need to import our various markets. Do we use markets? Markets is only used there. So we're going to get rid of this eventually as well. But we're going to say, okay, North American markets and Europe markets and APAC markets. we're going to do all those individually. We'll get rid of this because we know we're not going to use that anymore. We will still use the remote market. And what we're going to do, oh, actually this will simplify some of this. We don't need that. We're going to do, so in braces here, we're going to do North American markets.map, and then market, and then that's going to wrap around this guy. Right? Maybe. Like that. Maybe missing a closing paren here. Great. Okay, so now this should, when I go back, this drop down should just show North American markets underneath the remote market. Oop. Oop. I see. We were using map because this is an object, not an array. So we're going to do map. So we will need that low dash bit, but we won't need the sort one. Like that. Like that. Okay, now I should just show North American markets in here. Great. Okay, and we're gonna go through a bunch here, but we're basically gonna do North American, European, and then APAC markets. And let's take a look at what that looks like now. Once it reloads, we've got our North American. Our European starts here, and then APAC starts here. So we should probably organize these. I guess those are somewhat organized. Melbourne and Sydney belong together, and then those are all in Japan. So that's okay. I'm gonna get rid of this import we no longer need. And we're gonna start making this all a little better. So in the spirit of dry, don't repeat yourself, we're going to make a little helper function which renders a market list. So we're gonna do something like that. And in there, we're going to run, copy this, go like this, and we're going to say market list. So now I've only got this code written once. Oh, we should do, that'll be okay for now. And now, instead of these, we're going to get rid of these. We're going to do render market list, and we're going to say North American markets and European APAC. This should be, again, visually the same, much less repeated code here. Right. List not defined, line 17. Did I misspell it? Oh, yep, I did. So this will give me the same thing, great. But one thing I noted was that we're going to want to do something like this above the market list where we give it a little title. So let's figure out how we did that, which should look familiar. We're even going to do this. Const blank option equals that. And we will say blank option. We might fiddle with that terminology a bit, but now I'm passing a title in there, and we're using that title sandwiched in some blank options, which is nice. And we should probably do a check just to be fair, make sure we have a title. So if there's a title provided, we'll render it in between these blank options, otherwise not much use in doing that. Yep. Okay. And so now I need to replace my blank option here and one here. Lovely. So now if we're lucky, and we're not, I forgot everyone. This title can't just be here as a word, it actually needs to be some markdown or markup. Option value equals title, disabled, and that should do. So we have to give it, put it inside of an option, or the select won't render it. There we go. It's not the value, it is actually the thing in between. Okay. Value, it's valueless, invaluable, whatever you want to call it. Funny enough, that's a bit of HTML that I don't write often. Like, I really don't make a lot of selects these days. Okay, I see one potential problem here. North America, Europe. Yeah, okay, maybe what we want to do for these titles instead of that is something like this, where we say like that. Let's try that. Wait, so we don't want these blanks any longer. It's not terrible. I can't select North America. I'm going to get rid of these blanks now because I don't like the way they look, frankly. Sort of an on-the-fly decision here. Let's see how that plays now. So we default to remote jobs. We then have a divider for North America, a bunch of North American cities, Europe, a bunch of European cities, Asia Pacific, a bunch of Asian and Pacific locations. And that was what we had set out to do, was to reorganize this dropdown. Ended up being kind of an adventure to do that, huh? That's pretty wild. So this is the old version, which is currently in use. The current version, I should call it, not the old version. Currently deployed. Definitely uses some older implementations that maybe we're less of a fan of these days, but still functional, still performant for what it does. There's not a lot going on there. It's kind of an API call and a display of a couple of lists. We're going to run a linter to check my source code here. And then we're going to commit this. I'll open a pull request off stream. We can deal with that later. So we will say, I think I also have prettier in here. In my script somewhere. Yeah, we'll do prettier. Yarn prettier fix. Okay. Oh, this README, I think this is the default create React app README. It is. We don't need this. I suppose I'm just going to discard those changes. Lovely. There were a couple of other, yes, please discard those changes. There were a couple of other changes that it made to clean up some links that I had missed, which is nice. Update job module, well, we'll say country, nope, market, drop down, order. Okay, we'll do that. Hopefully we can publish this branch. Ah, man, well, I put that in a branch named dependencies, but you know, that's why we have pull request templates and things like that. Okay, that's great. So we're gonna call that done. So that's the old version. Now we're gonna go and carry this out for the new version of the software, which should be a different experience. I wanna say it should be easier as well, theoretically, but will be almost entirely different the way that we tackle it because we're using different data structures. We're using a different select presentational component that is more usability focused, and the application is fairly different as well. So let's see about that. Okay, I'm also going to make sure I go and close the old project. Great. So I don't confuse myself. And close the things that are open. We'll grab our market drop down here. Oop, oop, oop. Okay, come on, catch up with me, VS Code. Inside of our components directory, we're going to grab our market dropdown. Curiously, this is importing as a plain CSS file. I want to see what's in here. Wow, this is going slow. Close some stuff here. I don't really know what's slowing this down right now. Visual Studio's boot process is a little intense. Are using the opt group element for grouping the options. Oh, hey. Andrew and Justin, I don't know if you just started chatting or if those just weren't appearing before. No say. I'm not using the opt group element on the current implementation. The new implementation might be. We'll check that. It uses this list box that we got from Reach, which is usability focused. So I would think it's using opt group. We're going to find out. Okay, so let's start by creating a branch of a proper name here. Feature / market drop down updates. Create that from origin / production. And we'll start running this thing. Oh, hey, look at that. I've already done some of this work here, interestingly. The nice thing about the reach list box, though, is that you don't just have to use select components. So we used plain old horizontal rules for this. I do want to see what's going on with this CSS file. What do you got? What are you doing, CSS file? Tell me about yourself. Oh, yeah, okay. So actually, in looking at this, it's a pretty similar treatment to what we had done. I split this into a bunch of different markets, and actually I did Asian and Australian separately, which is maybe just a bit more thorough. I then rendered each of those lists as a market option using this helper, which is just a list box option. And we can even shorten up this syntax a bit to make it a tiny bit less ornate. And probably just combine these. I think that's perfectly fine. This way we're sort of reading this more linearly. It's kind of funny how code preferences, not even a style thing, preferences change even week to week on this stuff, and that's perfectly fine. Will that do? Looks like it'll do. Yeah, cool. Okay, and actually if we wanted to here, we could do it like this without that return, which shortens it up a little further, but I might argue that that's a little less readable. So I'm gonna not do it like that for now. Oops, okay. Lovely, lovely. So save it up, format everything, let this thing catch up with me. Let's take a look at now what actually fires out into the browser. I actually don't remember doing this. That's funny. I surely consciously did this at some point, but I do not remember going through the process to do this. So we'll let Gatsby do its thing and finish building, which surprisingly it hasn't done at all. It's not just trying to catch up with me, but it's getting through its initial renders. And after that, we're going to go and do some inspection of what actually gets sent out to the browser. Ooh, hey, and in case you happen to be in Charlotte where I'm located, my phone just yelled at me that there's an air quality alert. That's probably great, right? Let's see. Code Orange Air Quality Action Day for ground level ozone until 8 p.m. this evening. Ground level ozone concentrations in the region may approach or exceed unhealthy standards. Oh man, talk about like a commonality in 2020 is unhealthy air, huh? All right, let's open this bad boy up. What are we doing here? I love air quality. Yeah, big fan of air quality of varying types, although I suppose the current one isn't my fave. Okay, let's take a look at this thing. So we've got our drop down. It renders, it renders this list, which has our North American guys. It has, it might be a little hard to see it on the stream, but there's a divider between Vancouver and Amsterdam, and Paris and Fukuoka, and then Tokyo and Melbourne, which is good. I didn't, in this implementation, I didn't label the various locales, which probably should get done. So we're going to look at that. But I also want to inspect and see what's actually being sent out to the browser here. Oh, look at that. This isn't even using a select. And I suppose that's because... Oh, hey, that's moderately problematic. What did we give that for its Z index? Like too much? How do I make that happen again? Yeah, look at that. That's not great. So the reach implementation of the select box, which is this list box, is heavily usability focused. So it's meant to be screen reader friendly. And something tells me that some decision somewhere along the way led them to believe that this is the better way to implement it. And honestly, I'm going to trust them on that one because I'm not a usability expert and haven't felt the pain they've had in having to implement one of these, I'm sure, nightmares. But it doesn't use an opt group to answer your question, Justin. You can see it changing. That's cool. Active descendant changes. A bunch of RA stuff going on in there for the screen readers among us. So let's look up reach list box and see what we can do to put in label elements. Reach is the same group of people who make React Router, by the way. They make some really great stuff. And I never hesitate to use it. It certainly has not let me down. Listbox presents us a list of selectable options in a popover, which is toggled on or off by a button. Visually and behaviorally, it's similar to Reach menu button, except that listbox option components hold a value. In this sense, they're more directly comparable to HTML select elements. Lovely. You can use it as a simple standalone component or compose its parts with listbox input. Oh, that's kind of cool. Installation. Okay, let's look at our list box options then. Disable. Okay, so we're just going to do a list box option with disabled value of true. And this should look familiar because we kind of just did something like this. Gotta put that in the right place though. Okay, so. Like that, we're gonna put a title here. Yeah, this is going to look very familiar actually when we're done. List box option, we're going to say disabled and then value equals -1, and we'll say title. And just like before, we're going to say do that only if there's a title. So we'll do this title and we'll render that list box option. And we're going to put our horizontal rule in this component now, because there's some sensible space for that. This needs another paren. There we go. Okay, now let's see what we get. Market is not defined. I suspect it is defined, though. Market dropdown JS15. I think you're running behind on me here. All right, now what's it look like? There's North America. Here's all of our North American ones. And we have a, ooh, hey, ooh, oh. those have to have different values. Okay, that's fun. Anyway, you can see the horizontal line and the title, but these all have to have, we're going to say disabled title, because they all have to have different values. And we might also go with a little bit of formatting in here because we can. If you recall, in this project we're also using Chakra now. So we should just be able to drop in some text, font weight, bold, and text transform. Something like that, which will wrap this thing in a span, I believe. Yep, that's kind of nice. We could also change the size of it if we wanted to, I suppose. Yeah, okay, let's do that. And if we've done all that, we might not need this any longer. No, I like the separation that provided. Okay, great. So we've now made the parallel changes in this project to match, but we can see there's a couple of usability differences that are afforded to us in the new world here, which is kind of cool. We have more rich labels. We can't select those, which is nice. The selected one is bold. We have a lot of control over that if we wanted to. We have all of our groups set here. We have a slightly different grouping, which I can go and gripe with and set the other one back to if we want them to match. And the only thing that now needs to be addressed is, let me recreate this for you again. Okay, do you see this trapezoid here? That is the tab behind find work being moved up to there. And what that means is that there's some z-index misalignment here. And I'd imagine it's that this is set to 100 and it should be maybe 1 or... Let's set the list box as this is z-index to higher than whatever it is. It's going to be the popover. Well, let's just try setting it and see what happens. Okay, that should do. So that should get it out of the way. Boom, nice. That's great. Okay, so what have we just accomplished? Well, let's look at the changes here and we'll go through them. First of all, this z-index thing we did was to address that the tab from our layout below on the home page was popping through that market dropdown because it was sort of mislayered. Then we made a bunch of changes to the market dropdown.js, which already had things in sub orders that we liked. but it didn't have labels that we wanted. So we went and changed the rendering logic to render a list of market options, which has an optional title provided. If the title is provided, it shows that title, disables it so you can't click on it. It makes it uppercase and bold and a slightly larger font. Then it renders that market map below, just as we were before. So the presentation of this didn't change at all. And we also gave this the responsibility of rendering this horizontal rule, which means we don't need to repeat it below anymore, which is nice. So now this market dropdown is just a matter of supplying the lists we want and rendering those all out individually. If we wanted to, we could take this market option list and make it into its own component, but it's kind of a natural child of this and won't appear anywhere else. So I'm happy with it the way it is now. The last thing to do before committing this change is going to be, excuse me, a quick lint check. Ooh, I'm losing my voice today. I always feel like it sounds so much scratchier once my voice starts to go, but I doubt if you can even tell what it feels like, what it's, if there's any audible difference. Okay, link passed. I forget if I have a prettier check in here in my scripts. I do. Okay. Prettier fix. Looks like we had gotten all those formatting changes, and so here we're going to do market, drop down, presentation changes, and we'll include these. We'll hit this check, we'll publish this branch, and then basically from here the next step is to go make some pull requests. We publish it, we'll push our changes, make sure they're there. While I'm in here, yeah, let's show this off. So I've started occasionally using this as part of my workflow now. After I push changes within VS Code, there's a GitHub plugin, and if you click on this, you can actually create a pull request from your current branch by hitting this plus button, which will say, okay, choose your target branch for this. So I'm on feature/market drop-down updates. I'm going to make a pull request to production. If I hit enter, it'll go and kind of think for a minute. We're going to use the last commit message to create the title. Why not? And then what this did is it went out to GitHub. It created that pull request for me. And it's giving me a modified GitHub view here, which you can see has very VS Code looking CSS applied to it. But it's basically a view of that pull request screen, but the pull request is actually created here. I can go in and edit this. So this here contains updates to the market drop-down component, which helps, which shows the various market we support organized, which, yeah, fine, which organizes markets by their geographical location: North America, Europe, North America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. And also, I also added a label to the drop down for each of the above buckets. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Great. Okay. Now if I hit save, I think if I exit review mode, refresh here. Yeah, okay, so I should also be able to open this on GitHub, but if I wanted to, I could approve and merge it here. How do I open this on GitHub from here? I'm not positive. I don't need to, but I just kind of want to show the equivalent on GitHub. I'm going to click on this commit. That'll bring me close enough. Okay, so we can go to GitHub now, and we should see that pull request created. you'll see that it's pending. Oh no, actually everything went and built already. So if I come up, I can go look at my deploy preview on Netlify, and there we are. And there are my changes, and I can say these are good, these are bad, whatever it may be. I think I could have assigned myself from here too. Yeah, I could assign reviewers if I want Andrew and Justin to take a look at it, but I can't assign the issue to someone here quite yet, apparently. I could say this is an enhancement. Okay. And that, yeah, see, behind the scenes, that's going and doing it there. That's great. So this went through all the checks. It went through all of the build stuff. It passed prettier, lint, etc., etc., etc. Let's call it there. Let's merge this thing. Hit confirm merge. It'll go and deploy that to production. Production being the preview build for next version of Gymnasium, which is at gymnasium.dev, and that'll be up in a matter of minutes. And it should have also, yeah, went and deleted this branch. So that is a complete feature update for this repo. Also done in parallel in the other repo, which we could go in and pull requestify to. And this one's a little bit different because it supports two different environments. So when I do this pull request, it's going to be against our develop branch, which is really just our staging. So I'm going to say reviewers, Justin, this addresses, and we have an issue that this is pointed to. So on Gymnasium, we have a repo called Tracker, which is where we keep sort of our global bug reports. We'll go into issues here and look for jobs. That wasn't the one. We still got to work on that one at some point. Jobs. No. That is, oh hey, that actually looks like this might be a closed issue. We might not have an issue for this, fine, but I'll describe what we did here. So this PR adds, reorganizes the options in the job module select component by the geographical region they're in. North America, Europe, Asia, APAC. Okay. Create this pull request. Oh, hey, the build failed here. That's fun. Show me what failed. Prettier failed. Oh, on the README that I reverted. Oh, that's so silly. Well, okay. I'll go ahead and make that change. Yeah. Gotta break me like that, and I didn't save that project either. It's fine. Actually, I can just do it here, can't I? Okay, that should be rerunning shortly. That's funny. I don't know why I even bothered to set it back. Wasn't hurting anything. Oh, you know what? I didn't commit that, did I? I swear to you, I know how to use Git somewhere in my past. Okay, great. Now it's being pushed up. This thing will go and rebuild, and then sometime shortly, we will have a pull request that we can review and change and make updates to. So I'm going to assign this to both Andrew and Justin, who are hanging out with me today anyway. I don't know that there's a project to assign this to. Yeah, a little bit of both of those. All right. And with that, I think I'm going to end the stream here. So that was interesting. There was. I'm glad there were some things that we bumped into that I had not anticipated, because I thought this was going to be a pretty straightforward thing. It took a little longer than I was expecting, but that's kind of always the way on stream. I think one of the things that tends to slow this process down in general is that I need to talk through everything I'm doing, which is why I start to lose my voice. But I hope that in listening to that, you are gaining something from the process. The thought process is something that's growing and changing. And we even saw I made some changes to some React components that were perfectly fine, but maybe a little more convoluted than they needed to be. And kind of that process of going and updating your code is a natural sort of progression of building software. So anyway, that's going to be it for me for today. Thank you so much for hanging out. Hey, look, this already passed the build. Yeah, we're going to call it there. I'll be back next week. Until then, be excellent to each other. Take care and be well. See you guys.